idea of helmet removal. So, does everyone here either works? Has anyone here worked with football? No one here has? Okay. So, football, the helmets are made to fit snugly, right? So if you move the helmet, the whole head should go with it. That's why face masking is such a serious penalty in football, right? It should not twist on the head. So when people are getting sized for it, and if coaches are sizing properly, that's one of the things. They put it on, it has the cheek pads inside that help it fit snugly, right? And then it has the chin strap, right? So at the end of the day, when it's done properly, this should not move on the head, right? If you move the helmet, the head goes too. If you have a properly fitting helmet, the person can be immobilized with the helmet on, okay? Because if you've got the helmet immobilized, their head is then immobilized as well, you don't have to worry about it. If the helmet is too loose, so if it will twist, rotate, spin on their head, it has to be removed, okay? Because that means that they are, you can't immobilize the head inside of it. Things like hockey, they never fit snugly, right? You see a lot of times the straps dangling like a foot underneath their chin, right? It's there more for looks. A lot of times if they fall hard, the helmet will go flying off anyways, right? So in hockey, the helmet always has to be removed. If you think about the amount of padding that's in here, actually I'm just going to get you to throw this on your head for 1 second, and just lay down. And I just want you to see what happens to Emily's neck and back when she lays down with the helmet on. Okay? Now take the helmet off. Can you see like where her chin position is and everything? Can you notice the difference there? Right? So it lifts the head quite high off the ground. The other thing is you've got these big padded shoulder pads here that also lift your back off the ground. Okay? We'll do this in a minute. But so if you're taking off the helmet, if you're laying flat on your back and you have the pads on, the pads and helmet keep you at a pretty level. As soon as you take the helmet off though, your upper body is being lifted far off the ground, and now it's going to cause the head to go into a lot of extension. So if we choose in football that we have to remove the helmet, we have to remove the pads as well. Or the shoulder pads. Not all the pads. But. In hockey, however, the pads usually aren't as thick, so even if we take the helmet off, the amount that they're lifted off the ground isn't that much. So we can leave the shoulder pads in place, unless they get in the way of compressions for some reason. Okay? Now we discussed, when we talked about spinal injuries, the reasons why we would take off the helmet. Does anyone remember what they were? Okay, yeah, so if you had severe bleeding that you couldn't manage, if it was on the face, you might be able to manage it with it on there.
If they're not breathing, if their airway is obstructed.
Yeah, if you have any ABC compromise, okay? Or if you're concerned that there might be an ABC compromise, okay? The equipment has to be removed. If the person is conscious, stable, right? No bleeding, they have no decreased level of consciousness, maybe they're a little distressed because they're about to be put on a spine board, but that's about it. Leave everything in place. One thing you can do though, is we can cut off the face mask so we at least have access to the airway, okay? So what you'll end up doing is cutting these little stoppers on the side, okay? So once these are cut, the face mask will swing right up. You can cut the ones on the top as well to take the whole face mask off if you want, okay? Which is generally preferable because you don't want it swinging back down on the person. Sometimes it's easier, I think Ben always advises that you have both a screwdriver and shears. Yeah. A pair of gardening shears in your first aid kit if you're working football. Okay. Sometimes your shears are dull. Sometimes these stoppers are really old and hard, so it's hard to cut through. Okay. So it might be easier just to unscrew, but sometimes these screws have been in there forever and they're stripped or rusted in place, so you're not gonna ever be able to unscrew them. So you want to have a couple of options to be able to get this face mask off. You need the mask to come off to be able to take the helmet off. Okay. With the shears, if you're working football, you have to go buy your own. Don't buy the cheapest ones out there. Ben 1 year bought a whole bunch of cheap ones for people to practice with. And because the stoppers are generally pretty tough, the handle snapped right off. The metal broke. Okay? Okay. So you don't want to have... Oh, okay, and you can...
See the metal up here? It like split right there, so it doesn't actually close.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing is, cutting these things will make these dull. So if you ever have to use them, go out and buy a replacement pair. Okay? Because I can't think of anything worse than having someone with a compromised airway that you can't gain access to because your equipment is old or used. And we've got a lot of here for you guys to practice. So would you mind putting on? Yeah. Now the other thing is, you can't be too scared with this. I've seen people who are overly cautious do this before, and they're just kind of like not really paying attention, not applying enough pressure because they're a little nervous about it. And we are using a sharp object close to someone's face, so we have to be very precise with this. But what I've seen is them being too scared, it's slipping and them cutting themselves with it. Not badly, but we just need to be careful, okay? So the straps, we'll talk about this again in a second, but we have the laces up the front and the straps that come under the arms. So when we are going to be taking all the equipment off, when we're practicing, we're just going to undo everything. But in real life, you just take your scissors, cut the straps, cut the laces, okay? So the straps will be easy to take off after.
You want it all done up?
Yes.